It wants to murder you and goes by many names. The Wind Cave is particularly hazardous due to its depth, length, and frozen surface. In today's tale, a couple went on an expedition in the Wind Cave, but ended themselves stranded there while waiting for help to arrive under harsh conditions. Numerous names, including Darby Ice Cave, Fossil Mountain, and others, have been given to the Wind Cave. It can be found in South Dakota's southwest region of the Wind Cave National Park. The park, which was established in 1903, has a sizable natural reserve and the third longest cave system in the United States, measuring 154 miles. It takes a lot of work to travel through because of its length. The surveyor who first explored and documented the cave did not distribute the map in order to restrict excursions in the cave, despite the fact that there is a very detailed map and survey of the cave. Particularly for adventurers with little prior knowledge of caving, trekking, and rappelling. Only seasoned explorers and adventurers are advised to visit the cave. Rescue efforts are frequently required when this cave is visited because of one difficulty or another. This is due to the fact that every description of the cave is difficult. If the explorers had planned ahead and followed directions, the frequent need for a rescue might have been prevented. You might not immediately recognize the cave's pathways because they are hidden. You have to scramble across two relatively near pathways that are hardly recognizable. Only people who have been there before can readily locate them. If you are not there with a leader who is experienced with this cave, there are several more tricky spots where the correct way is not obvious, and you may easily get lost. Once you've entered the cave, there is no way to leave it without navigating its obstacles and returning to the base. If you can't find your way out of the cave quickly enough, you risk hypothermia, so you don't want to start looking for a way inside on your own. By that time, only a rescue crew can assist you in exiting the cave. The base entrance to the cave is roughly 1,400 feet away from the trailhead, which starts at an elevation of 7,060 feet. Windy Squeeze is located close to 500 feet from the massive entrance, which may be reached by ascending 400 feet to the top of the cave. At one point, you will have to crawl on your hands and knees while traversing a distance of 700 feet from Windy Squeeze to the fastened rope that will allow you to ascend another 20 feet uphill. Make sure you attach a brief note to this rope instructing no one to cut the rope because they want you dead. Such a letter might read, "Please do not remove this rope, because else everyone inside will perish." Cave exploration is ongoing. The necessity for rescue has typically been brought on by a caver being stuck at the base. Another situation that traps explorers at the end is when the exit is covered by ice. This can happen when a rope was either not fixed on the prior ascent or it was removed while you were within the cave. The wind that blows out of each of its apertures is what gives Wind Cave its name. People refer to the air flowing in and out of the Wind Cave's channels as breathing. As a result, the air pressure inside and outside the cave are balanced. When the air pressure outside is higher than the air pressure inside, air flows into the cave. As a result, the pressure inside the cave rises to match the pressure outside. Every time the air pressure inside the cave exceeds the air pressure outside, air will escape. As a result, the air pressure inside the cave decreases. Smaller caves with many apertures tend to breathe less than large caves with fewer openings, like Wind Cave. Spencer Christensen, 27 years old, and Jessica Christensen, 24 years old, a climbing experienced couple, organized a trip to Wind Cave on Saturday, August 12, 2018 at 7 a.m. to honor Spencer's birthday. Aurora, their 1-year-old child, was left behind with their grandma. After 3 weeks of research on the cave, Spencer and Jessica both concluded that the knowledge they had would be adequate for their journey. They prepared in their gear and turned on their lights as they approached the cave's entrance. They entered the narrow, lofty cave when they were prepared. Due to the ice that covered the entire cave wall, the cave was extremely chilly. With the reflection of the couple's headlights, this ice continues to sparkle. It was just amazing. They climbed the rocks for several hours. The tunnels were so narrow that Spencer and Jessica had to cram themselves inside. Before they realized there was no way out of the cave, they dove through the ice-cold water. This was the start of their plight within the freezing cave. The first time we noticed we were in trouble, according to Spencer, was when we were in a dim, deep area of the cave after a river, and the river came to a stop in a room that had no exit. Looking for wind coming from other tunnels, we turned around and tried to find a way through, but we were unable to do so. Later on in the evening, they started to get wet and chilly, but suddenly they noticed a rope hanging from the cave's roof. Their spirits were raised, but they soon discovered that the impact of the ice had already stiffened their hands and legs and nearly numbed the rest of their bodies. They were unable to climb the rope because they lacked both warmth and internal strength. They needed to relax since they were exhausted and hungry. To stay warm, they were forced to burn trash. To gain strength, they also consumed some food that was still in their backpacks. They attempted climbing the rope repeatedly in vain after eating and acquiring some warmth. The more they attempted to ascend, the colder they got, and the more they were wet by the ice impact. When no one was aware of their situation inside the cave, how could they have gotten help from the outside? No way of getting in touch with the people outside, other than the fact that they were smart enough to prepare a rescue strategy before leaving the house. Jessica's mother, the grandma, was instructed by the pair to call the search and rescue squad if they hadn't returned after 24 hours. On Sunday at 7:30 a.m., they expected assistance from the search and rescue crew. The rescue crew included Matt Kerr, the undersheriff for Tatum County, who claimed that they perform about 10 rescues in the cave's year. The cave, he said, is a series of enormous caverns and tight crawls. There are parts where you literally have to squeeze through on your hands and toes, and that connects to some larger caverns as well. To enter, you have to cross a lot of ice-cold rushing water that runs throughout the area. There were no alternate routes that Jessica and Spencer could find. They began moving their bodies while they waited. To avoid losing body heat while sleeping, they tried all sorts of things to stay awake, like jumping and squatting. With anything they could find, including caps, gloves, a backpack, Spencer's knee brace, and Jessica's hair, they continued to make fire. They were kept warmer by the fire, but it quickly died since they ran out of fuel. The rescue crew is still on the way. They decided to try again using a pulley after realizing that their only option was to ascend. When Jessica used the rope to enter a hole, everything started going their way. She grabbed a rock and tried to use it to pull herself up, but the rock broke and she fell. She could have perished after falling on some rocks, but Spencer saved her. Spencer made the decision to climb the rope first, and he and his wife were able to reach the top together. They were unfortunate since the ice had blocked the escape. They were taken aback when their only chance of surviving was barred. As they considered leaving their 1-year-old child without both of their parents, thoughts of death and survival flooded their minds. They left the altitude they had first ascended. After smelling the smoke from their burning gear, the rescue squad was able to move nearer Jessica and Spencer. Jessica and Spencer soon started to hear odd noises. They could make out voices down in the cave, and they were human voices. Hope has been revived. They shouted loudly so that those people would hear them. At 11 p.m. on Sunday, the rescue crew located them and went to them. They discovered them frozen and immobile. According to Casey Bess, a search and rescue volunteer, it took 5 to 6 hours to find them. They were discovered within a tiny hole at a height of 25 feet. They were located by one of the rescue crews who then scaled a rope to get there, examined their bodies, and repaired a line so they could rappel out of the pit. They were saved in time, however they were still shivering and at risk of hypothermia. They were imprisoned in the freezing cave for about 30 hours. In a recent interview, Jessica remarked, "It's incredibly frightening to think you're leaving a child without parents and with no way out. Of course, facing your death is both extremely chilly and incredibly terrifying. The most terrifying moment was when Spencer was shaken. I had complete faith in him the entire time to get me out of there. But when I noticed how terrified he was, I realized our relationship was over. She came to the conclusion that the terrifying experience had improved both her and her husband. Even though he said he will always remember the journey, her husband added, "You somewhat come to the point where you say you kinda realize what's essential and what's not. That happens after you make your getaway. But by then, the concerns you were so anxious about are typically insignificant trifles that don't even matter on a larger scale." We appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you liked what you saw, click the like button. Think about subscribing. And click the bell icon to get notified when we post another thrilling cave exploration story.